Today, we will be reviewing the Wall Street Killer Expert Advisor by Mr. Pablo Dominguez Sanchez. So, this expert advisor seems really interesting because he's very obviously stating that there's no manipulation, there's no grid, there's no martingale, no lot multiplier, and he's even really emphasizing that we should go and check the back test and compare it with the live signal from IC markets or IC trading. So, as he's really emphasizing the transparency and he's being radically transparent, that's a very good sign that there might be something interesting to look at here. And to get an idea of how the strategy works, we can see that this is a US 30 expert advisor. It trades on the 15-minute time frame, and it is a spread-sensitive robot. So that's quite a interesting set of characteristics. And it does make sense, right? Like US 30 has a very good volatility to spread ratio. So for this is likely a scalping bot for scalping type systems. That's usually a pretty good sign. And here we can see that it is taking trades and it looks like a nice equity curve, but it's not perfect. So that's also a really good sign. So having slight dips, but also an overall upward sloping equity curve is really good to see. Now we can pop over. There we go. Pop over to the live signal. And we can see that to date it has had very good results, but likely does not have a ton of trades so far. But the main takeaway here is that it's both taking winners and losers, and that's a great sign. So this is usually an indication that there's no manipulation or minimal manipulation going on. So you generally speaking want to see expert advisors that have a good mix of winners and losers. However, obviously the winners in dollar terms should outweigh the losers, as we all want to have profitable systems. So let's quickly pop over to the MT5 terminal, where I've taken the liberty of downloading this expert advisor and running a preliminary backtest. Let's first take a look at the equity curve. And we can see that it looks good. This is characteristic of a scalping type equity curve, where the losses are larger than the winners. And let's take a look at the inputs tab, but I'm quite sure I know how this system works. So the important things to look at here are some of the risk management parameters, specifically that it is clearly using a trailing stop loss, which is very characteristic of a scalping system. And they also give a few interesting strategy specific parameters, such as the only up and the gap parameters, which are quite interesting too. Like perhaps the only up is limiting longs versus shorts, and gap could also tell us like maybe if it's placing pending orders, it's placing a gap between the order and whatever level it is detecting. And if we take a quick look here at the results of the back test which I've run, I'm very or quite certain that it's placing pending orders at key levels and trading the breakout of those levels. So for instance, we can kind of trace back. You can imagine that there's likely a pending order here and it's trading the breakout of that. And simultaneously, there's likely a pending sell stop order here and it's trading the breakout. But let's run a quick, more visual back test to get an idea in more detail. But here we're seeing that it's turning $10,000 into around 12.2. So that's showing a good rate of return. We're also seeing a very high win rate with an inverse risk reward, which is all characteristic of a scalping system. So I've actually developed a expert advisor, which I think is quite similar to this. The equity curve looks almost identical. So I'm quite certain I know how this works. And yeah, it's so far it looks like a very good system. There's nothing fishy going on here. It seems to be reasonably priced, and especially given the current market environment, where there's a good chance we're going to see a run up in equities, it could be quite an interesting system to take a look at. So let's run the visual back test for ourselves now. And the developers also mentioned that we should be running this on the M15 timeframe on US 30. Oh, this is quite neat, actually. So it's a little bit different than the strategy which I've developed. but there's definitely pending orders involved. But what I'm trying to figure out now is if it's running a double pending order based strategy or if it's running a single pending order based strategy. And let's let it fast forward a bit. So there's definitely pending orders being placed, but the exact way that it chooses the level is a bit up for interpretation. It doesn't appear to necessarily always be placing the level at a minima or maxima level. Perhaps that's what he meant by like the gap. It could be placing the order at a certain distance from a maxima or minima. I know with the Gold Reaper, for instance, which is a very popular EA, they tend to place them in a zone around a certain level. I have found that with gold, it's generally best to place the pending orders at the direct minima or maxima, but perhaps here with the US 30, there are some advantages to placing it with a buffer zone. It's also quite interesting that when it opens, it appears to be opening more of a range, both a buy stop and a sell stop simultaneously. Like you may have seen it just did 1 and 2, and it traded the breakout of that range. So it's actually a little bit different than what I first thought. It's not as simple as placing pending orders continuously. It's essentially waiting for some sort of event, perhaps a time-based event or perhaps a minima or maxima to form, and then it temporarily places a range and trades a scalp out of that range. So now I'm thinking there might be a time-based element to this too, perhaps an opening range breakout or some sort of breakout-based system too. But overall, a fascinating strategy. Actually, I want to dissect this in greater detail for myself to see if I can get some inspiration for some more expert advisors. But if we just let it fast forward in detail, we can continue to follow along with the graph. But to essentially put my thoughts together, this appears to be a very good expert advisor. The strategy makes sense. There's a bit of nuance over your traditional minima, maxima level breakout based system, but it does appear to be a very solid system. So I would actually recommend this bot. I would think that likely we want to monitor it a bit more in detail just to see how the signal progresses over the next few months. As in all fairness, it is quite short. There's only a handful of trades which are currently on display, but it looks really promising. And I wouldn't be surprised if this expert advisor in this system continues to progress quite well. So yes, please let me know what you guys think if you try it out. And stick around for the following short clip to receive a free expert advisor from us. Take care and thanks for watching. Before you click away, if you're looking to get a real expert advisor, here at Prosperity Algo Solutions, we're currently offering our Golden Time Bomb system based on automating the London breakout and opening range breakout 100% for free. Watch the pinned video to find out more and to get access.